Hi there, Zamir from YouTube. These are my thoughts and spoilers of Ted Lasso Season 3, Episode 12. This is the season series finale, and it's called So Long, Farewell, I Hate That Fucking Song. And unfortunately, our boys at Richmond decided to give Ted Lasso, who's leaving the club, a farewell musical number, so to speak. And it was so American, I wanted to fucking puke all over my clothes. I fucking hated that particular moment. The only moment that really pissed me off and made me very cringy in this entire episode. But other than that, once again, a superb, fantastic episode. We start with this episode with Rebecca in her kitchen, in her nightgown, watching TV early in the morning. And next thing you know, Ted Lasso runs in, joins her in the kitchen for breakfast. I'm thinking to myself, holy shit, Ted and Rebecca, they got intimate. They had sex the night before. But then next thing you know, Coach Beard runs in and he's wearing, it looks like he's wearing Rebecca's undies because it's with the way it's sitting on his body looks very funny. And then next thing you know, after that, Coach's Beard's girlfriend comes in too. So who knows what happened last night? It really wasn't indicated too much. She just let all those guys crash there. Did they have a party? Did they have an orgy? And I'll tell you this: if they did have an orgy, that would be far more fun and less intimate than two people, say Ted and Rebecca, having sex between the two of them. So if they did have an orgy, all fucking good in the hood. If that wasn't the case and it was just Ted and Rebecca, that would be a far more interesting scenario to talk about. But anyway, regardless of what they did last night, it wasn't panned out. It wasn't that fucking interesting. Who cares? So one of the things that we kind of nipped in the bud was Jamie and Roy and who's gonna get Keeley. Well, neither of them got Keeley. They were fighting over her, and at one particular moment, you think there's some sort of brotherly bond between these two. They're finally getting it together, and in a way, they still do to a degree. They are friends, and as I said earlier, that brotherly bond is there for sure. But they both want Keeley, and after fighting each other for her, they go to her place and confront her, and then Keeley basically tells them to fuck off. And this actually is a fantastic arc for Keeley because there she was at the beginning of this series, just a youngish girl who was always destined to be a wag. But you can see how far she's come as a person. That being a footballer's girlfriend is not the be all and end all for her. She's got bigger fish to fry, so to speak. And I'm really happy that she's moved on. But majority of this episode was just about Richmond having to play West Ham, the final game of the season, and after that, Ted Lasso, unfortunately, will be leaving the club so he can go back to America and be a father to his son. And whilst all of that is happening, you can just see the camaraderie and the bonding between all the different peeps and players. So much went on in this episode, and I have to say, it left a lump in my throat. It really did. I I almost came to tears with some of the moments we had with some of our players. Seeing Nate Shelley being taken in back with the guys again, and it felt like everything felt like how it used to in the earlier seasons prior to Nate falling out. It was great to see. Seeing Roy just embracing being a diamond dog, woo, 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 and all of that sort of stuff. Just so many good characters. And then the funny thing is, with all these good characters, there's only one real evil character, and that's Rupert. And during the course of this episode, he has some sort of sexual allegations against him. And things are not looking too good for Rupert. Everything's falling apart around him. He might lose his club and stuff like that if he gets taken to court, or who knows what. He might get ousted by the board. Who knows? But things are falling apart for him, and you can see that he's under a lot of pressure. Finally, we get our match between Richmond and West Ham, a Hollywood ending, so to speak. If Richmond win their game and Manchester City doesn't win against Liverpool, Richmond win the league. Who would have thought of that, considering they only got promoted last season? But like all good fairy tales, they do have a happy ending, but unfortunately, this one doesn't have the Hollywood ending, so to speak, because our boys Richmond having a great game. They do come back from 2 goals down. They do win the game. There are some interesting moments as well where the captain is asked to take a penalty and he looks like he's missed it, but he actually hasn't missed it. He has scored, but there was a hole in the net, and so the ball went through that hole in the net, which is why it looked like he missed it, because the ball ended up in the crowd, hit Rebecca's ex-boyfriend in the face, not Rupert, by the way, another geezer, and he's loving it because his face is covered in blood, and he's happy that the goal for Richmond counted, so Richmond are back in the game. At one particular point, it looks like West Ham have taken the lead, but VAR saved them. There were so many interesting moments, and then finally, Richmond score and make it 3-2. Great game. There is another arsehole, by the way, in all of this, and that is Ted Lasso's ex-wife's current boyfriend. He, them being Ted Lasso's ex-wife, his son, and current boyfriend are watching the game. Him being an American, he thinks it's going to be a boring 0-0. He's not really interested in the game too much, while Ted Lasso's ex-wife and his son are interested in the game. That was a cool little moment to see as well. And they're really happy that Ted Lasso won and all of that. That was a really nice moment. But then we also get Rupert coming on the pitch prior to the game finishing, pushing his manager onto the floor. His manager's wearing shorts, so one of his nutsacks falls out and stuff like that. Fucking hilarious how all that panned out. And Rupert is kind of being exposed for being the wanker that he is. And so much so that even the fucking Richmond fans, they start calling him wanker. Oh, there's my hand. Wanker, 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 wanker. I ruined the illusion right there. But anyways, it was just really nice. Great Hollywood ending, even though Richmond unfortunately didn't end up winning the league because Manchester City won their game. They came second. They were in the Champions League. You know, everything's going to be really good for them. We see so many different people celebrating this particular moment as well. Let me just bring up the cast because I don't remember all of them. Colin Hughes, the gay footballer, you know, his partner's there, and you know, when everyone runs on the pitch, he embraces his partner, kisses him right on the fucking lips in front of everyone. Doesn't care anymore. You know what I mean? Just happy to be in a successful team and doesn't care who knows that he's gay. Sam, you know, we see after the match, he finally gets to play for Nigeria. Really cool moment. Jamie, he has his moment with his father, like they just get back together again, and you can see that meant a lot to him too. Danny Rojas, like he's such a badass. Like you see him, you know, at one of the players' weddings, and I think it was Coach Beard's wedding, and but he doesn't actually go back to America with Ted. He wants to stay and in England to marry the love of his life, which is this crazy fucking English bird. But at the wedding, Danny's there, and he's kissing one girl, and the next, you know, he's got another girl on his arm, and he's kissing her too, and yeah, he's got a couple of birds on his arm. Yeah, man, what a fucking badass. Rebecca, she comes across the Dutch guy at the airport after saying goodbye to Ted when he goes back to America. The Dutch guy is actually a fucking pilot, you know, transatlantic airline pilot. Who would have thought? Oh my god, there's so many things. Oh, just fantastic, absolutely fantastic. Roy ends up being manager of Richmond. He takes over. Coach Beard is still his number 2. Nate is still there as well. He's his number 3, I guess. So the gang is all there, unfortunately, minus Ted Lasso. But just it like they really like tied off so many things. We see Keely still working in a business, you know, like no longer this, you know, this stupid airhead blonde bimbo. She's like a proper businesswoman now. It's just fantastic stuff. Nate Shelley just happy to be with a beautiful girl and living with his family. So many things tied up so fucking well. And then we finally see Ted Lasso back in Kansas, coaching his son, playing little league, you know, soccer, so to speak. And who knows what comes from that. But yeah, it was just great. It was just great. What a fantastic show. I honestly, even though that musical moment pissed me off during the middle of this episode, overall this show was so fucking good. This episode was so fucking good. I'm giving this episode a solid fucking 10. I'm giving this entire season a solid 10. I'm giving this entire series a solid 10. Ted Lasso, without a doubt, is a show that is actually finished far too soon for my liking, but it's finished at the very top. Hasn't dwindled. You know, it's done fantastically. Will there be a season 4? Who fucking knows? Will it be about Ted Lasso? Maybe about the supporting cast. Who fucking knows? Anyway, my 10 minutes is almost up. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe to NerdTube, the greatest YouTube channel you never heard of. Take care. Goodbye.